Hey, what's up? Shikata and I back again. I'm going to do some more tutorials. I make these tutorials mainly for myself because I have a little short-term memory and I want to know how I do things in here. So I make this for that. That's one of the main reasons. The other reason is I just enjoy teaching. I've been teaching ethical hacking and technology classes, and I taught for Microsoft. I've done a bunch of teaching for years, so I enjoy teaching aspect and giving back and teaching people new things. And so I'm going to do that with all this Neos stuff here because this is my new hotness, man. I'm digging this Neos. I've come from the metaverses of Second Life for about 15 years there, and OpenSim, and also VR chat, which I wasn't really too hot on. And now I'm here in Neos and I'm loving it. And so I want to go ahead and do some tutorials about some of the basics of what to do when you're in here, because I was really confused at the first part of it. And don't get me wrong, there's a great community here and they'll answer any questions you usually ask. I just don't, I prefer to learn things on my own. That's just my way of doing things. I don't like asking for help too much. I just prefer to kind of study and look for myself. So after doing that for a while, I actually, figured a few things out. So I want to teach some of that stuff to you today, some of the basics. So I'm going to switch over here to Smooth POV. I'm going to render my UI and render private UI. And we're going to start off here with just very basics. We're going to start off with just the inventory. Now, when you log in, you'll see this dashboard. I'm using an Oculus Quest 2. So when I say context menu, you can see right there, it's referring to my B button in this case. And then when I say secondary, this is the pushing in that clicker right there. Now, when you go to your inventory, you're going to be presented with this. Now, you won't have obviously all of this stuff. These are things I've accumulated. And you won't have all these folders either, but you will have this folder, Essential Tools, and Neos Essentials. For sure, you'll have those. Those are created by the Neos team to get you started and get you kicking off. So let's start off with Essential Tools. Everything that you do for creation-wise in this Neos is typically going to happen with what they call a tool tip. And so there's a list of these tool tips here. The major one that most things are done with is this one right here, this dev tool tip. So if I go ahead and double click that out, you'll see it spawns out in the world. Now I can go ahead and just single click it and equip the tool. And then here I can hit my context menu and I have a variety of things I can do. One of them being dequip. So I dequipped it, and what you can do is on most of your avatars, you'll see a little tool shelf right there, and I can place it right next to it and it will snap to it. And all my tools I can just go ahead and put on there. How cool is that, right? So on this particular one here, I'm going to go ahead and reattach it. Let's take a look at some of the options we have here. So the first one I want to go over is the Create New. So I'm going to click on Create New, and these are all the different things you can create within Neos, which makes it super awesome because everything can be done within the actual game itself. So let's click on 3D model and we'll go with a basic box. So when you see a basic box like this, you can go ahead and grab it with both of your triggers and you can move them up and down to expand it, just like that. But you can also come up to it itself with both your hands out and size it that way as well, which is really cool. Now, you can also go ahead and you see these dots that are up in here. Whoa. You see, see these dots that are up in here. You can click those, and you can also drag that down like this, and you can drag out there, just like that. So you can manipulate it this way as well. What you can also do is you can select it. And with this dev tooltip, and you have to do it with this dev tooltip, is you're going to push it on your thumbstick, and you're going to see it now has a selection. The green arrow going up this way here is called the y-axis, and when it has that arrow pointing this way, that means positive, and then y negative would be the opposite direction. Then you have red, which indicates the x-axis of an object, and then lastly we have the blue, which is on the other side over there, and that indicates the z-axis. You also have these gizmos up here. I'm not sure about these other two over here, but this is a translate one, and you can grab the translation in whatever axis you want, and you can move it in that axis. Now take note you cannot do it without the tip. So if I try to do it here, I can't do anything, right? I can select these, but I can't actually move it. So I have to have this equipped. I didn't realize that at first. That was confusing to me. Here's the rotate one, so you can see you can rotate it. Okay, right there, which is really cool. And then your last one would be scale. So here you can scale it in whatever direction you want, just like that. Pretty cool stuff. Also from there, you can inspect it, but we'll get into that in a different video or a different part of this. But let's go ahead and let's see. Let's go right here where it says destroy selected. So you can see I've selected the model. If I want to get rid of it, I can say destroy selected and then say, yes, I really want to destroy it. The other option is go back, create a box, is I can hold it. I can grab it like this, hit my contacts and say destroy. And then it doesn't ask me for that secondary one there, which is kind of interesting. Now I can also deselect if I had a bunch of things selected and I want to go ahead and not have anything selected. So I've selected it here. I can say deselect all, just like that. Now some of the other ones you won't have, like this is a custom one, so don't worry about it if you don't see that. Plus, there's a lot of players in here who make their own custom menus. So when you see their context menus, a lot of them will be different. Anyways, so I got this box. Now, another thing you can do is with your thumbstick, if you're using the Oculus, is you can push it forward and back, see, and get it to go forward and get it to go back. Pretty cool stuff. So it goes long distances. So pretty awesome. Now, you'll notice there's not physics here, but there is ways you can script it where there is physics applied, and I believe they're working on a bullet, maybe not bullet. They're working on some sort of physics system where, you know, real-time physics where it'll drop and roll on the ground and stuff like that. But people have made objects in here with physics to do those certain things. I'm just not sure how they do it. Anyways, something else you'll notice is when I grab it and go to my context menu, you'll see this save to inventory, but it's grayed out. You're probably thinking, what in the world is that all about? I was completely confused by that when I first started. So let me explain it. I'm going to render my UI. And I'm going to move away from my normal stuff here. So if you go to your UI, you'll notice what I'm in here is called Essential Tools. So here's my base inventory, and this is the folder you're actually in. I didn't make this folder, therefore I can't save anything in it. This folder, however, is my main inventory folder, so I can grab this, and now I can save it to inventory. Now you will see there's a box. And then I can double click it and spawn it out. Now, the other thing you can do is you can make your own folder by clicking on the plus over here and say, you know, stuff and things. I'll just say stuff and things like so. Hit create. Close this out. And now I have a folder that I've made. And I can also go ahead and save it there as well. As long as this is selected, I can do that. Another way is I can grab the object in one hand like this, and then I can hit the plus symbol here, and it will add it just like that. Okay. I can also go ahead and select it in the menu, hit the trash can, hit it again, and it will delete it. Right. Some of the other things you can do in here, and I'll delete this folder here, I don't need that, is if you found somebody's public folder, I'll destroy this, is if you found somebody's folder that you liked, let's say this one here, this Nordwick Public, you can click this right here where it says the mail thing. Actually, let me show you this way. If you go to your Neos Essentials, which is created for you by default when you first come in, there's a folder in here called Community Public Folders. And when I first started Neos, I went to this public folder and I spent nights after night after night looking through all this stuff just to see what kind of cool stuff is in these. So like say I go to this one here and I say, man, they got a lot of cool stuff in here, man. You know, I start resin some stuff out here. Ooh, this is crazy, right? So if I like all these different things that I'm seeing and I want to go ahead and kind of save the folder, I can do that. I can go ahead back here to the public folders, and I can select it like this, and I can hit this right there. And there I have my orange share. I can put that off to the side. Now I can go back to my inventory, make sure I don't have that folder here, and I can go ahead and grab it like so, and then hit my plus button. Now I don't need this anymore. And there it is right there. Now it's just a reference to it. And the thing that confused me was when you start off, you're given a gig of free space right over here. And I thought that took up my free space, but in actuality, it doesn't. This is just a link to somebody else's public folder. Now, if I were to take something out of here, like this guitar, for instance, and I were to save this in my inventory, okay, right here, this would actually contribute to that storage from what I understand. I believe that's correct. But anyways, that's how you screw around with inventory folders and such. All right, let's go back to our dev tooltip now. I'm going to go ahead and stop rendering my UI. And let's go back to create new. And you can see there, like I said, we had a bunch of 3D objects we can make. There was a sphere, cone, triangle, quad, just some really basic stuff. These ones here, colliders, would be like a box collider. And I'll probably show you that. Actually, let's show you that now. We'll show you that. It's called a component. I'm going to bring a box out again, and I'm going to select it with my dev tooltip. Again, I haven't moved away from my dev tooltip. Still have this. I'm going to hit my context menu, and I'm going to say Open Inspector. It's going to open the inspector for whatever is selected. Now, sometimes there are objects that are not the root of the object. As an example, I'll render my UI again. So as an example, if I go to, let's say, let's go to this one. So let's say I grab this object here, okay? If I were to select that, see that right there? That's being selected, but the whole object itself is not being selected, okay? So I'm going to move this over here just so it's in view. So if I open up the inspector now, all I'm going to see is the sphere component of this staff. This button right there brings you up to the root of whatever the object it's attached to is. So if I go here, this is the root. So if I select that, you'll see it selects the whole thing. See? Just like that. Excuse me. If I were to just select this component, it will just move that component. So do keep that in mind, that some things have a hierarchy to it. So if we look here at this box, we can see it's named box. First thing you can do is you can rename it. And you can just say, Wingnut, whatever you want to say, Leroy Jenkins, don't really matter. And then underneath it, you'll see a variety of different options. Here, obviously, active means it's there or it's not. And as you go down through, I just want to make sure I'm rendering my lasers. So let me move my camera over here for a second. Okay, cool. I want to make sure I'm rendering my lasers so you guys can see. So right here, you'll see it says box mesh. This is what they call a component. Every object in Neos can be made with these components. So you get this attached component down here to the bottom, and you can see there's a whole slew of different options that you can put in. I'll give you an example. This box mesh has a renderer. Now this renderer makes this box so it's visible. If I take the enable out of that, you don't see the box, but you see an outline of it. I enable it again. There it is. Now, right here, you can see that there is a box collider. That's exactly what it sounds like. It makes a collider around the box. And the way that has happened to be in this particular box here is under this component transform. I'm sorry, not transform. Under physics and colliders and box collider. So they attached a component of a box collider. For those that deal with Unity, this will be very familiar to you because this is pretty much how they do things there. So that box collider, you can see, is a collider. However, I can walk through it. So it's not really colliding. Or is it? Well, in this particular case here, if you wanted it to be a trigger so that you can walk through it and you can render it to not be visible, and you just want it to trigger something like opening a door or something, you can click this to switch it to a trigger. Now, if I don't want to walk through it, I would say character collider right there. I would check where it says character collider. So now you can see I'm being stopped from going through the box. Okay. So this whole thing is made up of, components. And on the renderer, it has a material listed here. So that's the next thing I want to talk about is materials, because that's kind of what gives us, awesome looking things, right? So keep this box open here. I'm going to go ahead and deselect all for now, just so I can get rid of that blue line. That's driving me nuts. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Create New. Again, I'm only using my Dev Tooltip, and I'm going to stop rendering my UI. And I'm going to go down to Materials. Here we can see there's a whole slew of different ones you can do. Text, unlit, fur. But we're going to go with a physically based shader for metallic. Okay. So you can see here that you can add a variety of components to it, like albedo textures, emissive, normal maps, height maps, and adjust the emissiveness and all kinds of cool stuff with it. Metallic maps, smoothness, all kinds of great properties to these materials. Up here on the albedo color, if I click this over here, you can see that I can adjust whatever the color is of that. Here I can adjust the transparency of the color, I believe. I thought, maybe. And this is the glow. Pretty sure that's the alpha. Not sure why it's doing that. Anyways, now I have this, what they call a material orb. I don't need this anymore. I can walk over here, put my little laser through, and drop it, just like that. So now I don't need this anymore. And I've now changed this property to red. Now, in this particular case, that is just a material. Now, if I did want to actually add a texture, you can do that as well with what's called materials. And if I go to Create New, I'll make another model. This time we'll do a sphere. And let's see, let me bring this down a little bit in size. Select it to get rid of that weirdness there. And I'm going to go to, let me render my UI. I'm going to go to my inventory, and we're going to go to Neos Essentials. And over here we have materials. Now again, this is given to you by default in the very beginning when you first sign up. So I'm just going to pick a tile. I guess we'll just pick that. I like this one. This one's pretty nice, but I'm going to spawn out two of them. I'm going to move this one and move this one. So now I have two different materials that are out here with textures on them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and de-equip this. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pop it right there. Put it right on my tool shelf. And then I'm going to go back to my my inventory. I'm going to go to the Essential Tools. And you're going to see a tool in here called a material tip. I'm going to grab that and equip it. Okay, now you can see it's there, but it's empty. What you can do is you can grab one of your material orbs, slap it in there like that, point at the object, and hit trigger. That's it. Now I can see that it's got this. Now, if I had a normal map to give me some little bit of bumpiness to it, that would be pretty sweet to be able to add that to it. Now, if I didn't like that, I can take that out, and I can go ahead and pop this one in instead. Click that, bing, just like that. All right. Now, pull this out again. And what I can also do here is, let me de-equip this for a second, is I can hold on to this and I can duplicate it. Okay. And equip it. And I can grab this, and instead of grabbing it from there with my hand, I just grab it with this. I can push in on my trigger, and it will actually put that material in, and I can slap it on there. Now, if there was a material in the world like this, let's say I did not make this, but it was in the world and I liked what I was looking at and I want that texture, I can point at it with my gun and I can go ahead and get rid of this ball. Let me move that out of there. And I can click in on my trigger and it will give me that material. How awesome is that, right? And you don't need to keep all these out here when you've applied it. You can if you want, but you don't need to. So get rid of those and those. And like I said, you can have as many of these materials as you want under your materials folder here. Okay. And you can also just make it with a texture as well. So for example, if I went ahead and get rid of this, and this, by the way, you can put on your shelf as well. But let's go ahead and make another object here. And we'll just do a cylinder. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and inspect it using my Dev tooltip, go to Open Inspector, find its renderer, which is right there. I can go ahead and open it up with this little button right there. I'll zoom in on it here. Hit that. And now I can have what they have, an albedo texture. Now what I can do is move this all the way over to its white, just like that. And actually, let me go back here again. And I'm going to adjust the transparency to full, right? The alpha, as it were. But you can see I have an albedo texture I can put there. So if you have a texture in your inventory, you can apply it. But here's what's also pretty cool is you can go to your own C drive, your D drive, or whatever of your computer, excuse me, and you can go ahead and grab a texture from there. So I'm going to go to a texture I have. We'll go with this one here. Now what you can do is you can import textures that you have, and you can do it as stereo, Neos Photo, 360, all kinds of different things. I'm just going to do image texture. And you can see here, if I can grab it here. There we go. If I can grab it, I have this texture here. What you can do is you can put it through and left click. Or I don't know why I said left click, but click your trigger. And that will give you texture. By the way, to do this rotating here, I'm grabbing it and using my thumbstick to move it left and right. So that's how you would apply just a normal texture to make your own materials, as it were, on this particular one here. And again, it is a material because it's listed here as a material, PBS metallic. And again, you can do different types. You can do tune shaders. Let me see, how many were there? There was a ton of them. Yeah, tune shaders, specular metallic, fur, volume, unlit, UI text, all kinds of different cool stuff. Okay. So that's really the basics of just manipulating these objects using these components and using textures and using materials. Okay. The next one, we'll go ahead and get into some more different components, but I want to keep these videos at a decent, reasonable length. So for now, that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace out, players.